So I said I'd conclude with a note of hope, and I will, and I want to, and I'm thrilled to, because the reality is, at Fatima, what do we learn from Our Lady? Our Lady, who is the Queen Mother of Christ our King, she made a promise to us. She said, in the end, my Immaculate Heart will triumph. We know the triumph is coming. And great saints like St. Maximilian Kolbe and St. Louis de Montfort, they predicted that the blessed reign of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, right, will be preceded by the reign of the Immaculate Heart of Mary. This is why the flag that we have in this studio has the Sacred Heart on it, because we are Catholic Americans, and we are in league with the Sacred Heart of Jesus. And now, as if to prove those great saints were right, that this is what's going to happen, Mary, Our Lady, the Queen Mother of Christ the King, has given us a sign. And you know, I've said so many times, and it's very true, I am not a signs and wonders kind of guy, but she has given us a sign in the middle of all this. I'm going to close on this. Her cathedral in Paris, France, it rose out of the ashes. We all saw it burn to the ground, just like we watched our beloved church burn to the ground, right? Burning to the ground right now. We watched it burn, and we thought it was dead forever. It looked like it would never resurrect, right? And yet, despite every worldly prediction, she's risen from those ashes. Now, here's the thing. We have to learn not to demoralize the troops. When something good happens, we don't have to look for the negative, the worst possible spin. Everybody knows how bad things are. That sometimes we get in the habit of negativity, and what we forget is we need to give people, our children, our young people, our friends, our allies, give them hope. This is a sign of hope. Don't you see what happened? Don't you remember what happened? I've heard so much on the internet about this stupid little table altar. I don't care about that hideous little table altar in Notre Dame. And by the way, it's much better than the butcher block altar that was there before for a lot of years. I've been to that cathedral for the traditional Latin Mass 30 times. It was horrible, that little butcher block thing that was up there, right? But that altar, and now the new one, will be torn out when sanity returns to the church after the war. I don't care about that. Nor do I care about the amazing technicolor dream vestment that everybody is talking about. I don't care about that vestment. That's Novus Ordo. This whole thing is Novus Ordo still. We should expect nothing more from them on that score. I don't care about the checkered board flag. You know what? It's not a Masonic innovation, friends. I saw that one too. That floor has been checkered board just like that in Notre Dame ever since I can remember, probably for the past couple hundred years. I'm not sure exactly. But that's the old floor, just restored. Is it Masonic? And people say, yeah, but the columns, the vaults, the ceilings, they're so Novus Ordo now. They're so bright and full of color. I hate the Novus. I mean, why did they Friends, that's just because that's the way the columns and the vaults and the ceiling, that's the way they were painted in the Middle Ages. Centuries ago. What you're looking at in the bright and renovated Notre Dame right now is exactly the way they were painted centuries ago. Exactly the way. It's the result of meticulous restoration that brought the old church back to life as she'd always been. Celebrate it, friends. It's good news. Trust me. And I told you, again, I'm not surprised by any of this. She's going to be with us. She said she would be with us. In the end, my Immaculate Heart will triumph, right? So, back in 2019, what did I tell you? Sitting right here at this desk, I said that Our Lady's Cathedral, Notre Dame Cathedral, will be restored exactly as it was. Why? Because Our Lady wanted it. You said, no, there's going to be a Starbucks in the tower, and there's going to be a swimming pool in the nave. I said, no, they're going to fail. Our Lady is going to see to it. Well, that's exactly what happened. 5 years later, it's like a miracle. Notre Dame defied the fire, and Notre Dame defied the modernists. Now, what you're looking at here is the crown of thorns, the relic that has been. This is the relic that was brought back by Louis IX. This is why the Sainte-Chapelle was built right down the street from Notre Dame as a reliquary for the crown of thorns that St. Louis IX brought back from the Holy Land. Okay? So that crown of thorns of Jesus Christ is making a triumphant return into Notre Dame in these images. And they're chanting, you know what they're chanting there? The ancient traditional Vexilla Regis Prodeunt. Right? Chanting it in Latin. The royal banner forward goes, the mystic cross refulgent glows. where he, in flesh, flesh who made, upon the tree of pain is laid. That's an unbelievable sign, friends, what we're seeing on the screen right now. And by the way, for those of you who maybe thought this was all the work of Macron, I mean, to his credit, and despite himself, he's the one that wanted it done in 5 years, and it was. But the chief architect of Notre Dame was one of us.
You know, I spent 5 years saying nothing about this because I'm a civil servant in a secular republic, and therefore I couldn't say something like this. But now I have to reveal that, yes, I have a particular devotion to the Virgin Mary, and at the risk of sounding totally crazy or like Joan of Arc, I never stopped feeling support coming from up there. I don't think this project would have been possible otherwise, and I think that's what gave me the strength and determination to move forward, because I knew I was supported from up there.
Did you hear that on the news? Probably not.
Une petite trace de moi.
I left a small mark of myself, he told us. In one of the hooks of the new spire is my face, with an admiring and affectionate look to represent all the companions who rebuilt the cathedral.
And some of those companions, by the way, that he's talking about, those are actually traditional Catholics. Those are people I walked to Chartres with. Those are Chartres pilgrims, some of them. Now, this guy's name is Raphael. He's got a great story. Basically, he's got a long explanation. He was there when Notre Dame burned. You remember, we did some of the coverage on that, you know, when the people of Paris came out and were praying the Je vous salue Marie as in the flames in the shadow of Notre Dame that night, that horrible night. Well, he's explained that he was one of those guys. He was one of the first on the scene at the Notre Dame as she was burning. And he prayed to Our Lady, and then he's explained that it was then and there that he decided to become a carpenter, change his career. He'd been a photographer, change his career, become a carpenter so that he could personally help bring Our Lady back to life for the greater honor and glory of God, Notre Dame, back to life. So he's saying right here, I started walking the pilgrimage to Chartres. This is where it gets so interesting. I started walking the pilgrimage to Chartres when I was 13 years old. The pilgrimage helps us get closer to God. Notre Dame was always the starting point of the Chartres pilgrimage. Without Notre Dame, we lose our foundation, our base. And so as a Chartres pilgrim, I will once again be able to return to Notre Dame after having helped restore her, because she has restored us. You see what I'm saying about how positive this is, what a beautiful sign this is, and to think that our own people were restoring her. You see? So much good news, friends. Such a beautiful sign of hope. You know, as I've said down here so many times, for 34 years, I walked that same pilgrimage that he's talking about, the same pilgrimage from Notre Dame in Paris to Notre Dame in Chartres over 3 days, right? And I have seen, one of the reasons I go back every year is because I have seen the faith that young man's talking about, Raphael. I've seen that faith coming back to France. France is reverting. France is coming back. One pilgrimage at a time, one pilgrim at a time. But it's coming back. And the restoration of Notre Dame is a symbol of that. It's a sign of that. And that's how we win, friends. Don't you see? Even if nations are annihilated, restoring the old faith, restoring the old church, keeping the faith is our mission. To run the race, in order to do that, in order to run that race and keep that faith, we have to make sure that we never let them make us forget who we are and what we are. Je suis chrétien, the French say. We are Christians. We are soldiers of Jesus Christ, who this Christmas, friends, will stand proudly with our persecuted Christian brothers all over the world.